Hey Juggernaut Training Systems fans, I wanted to share this short clip from a Beers with Chad episode with you. So this episode is with one of my longtime athletes and friends, River Cracraft. I've known River since he was a senior in high school when I helped him get ready to go play football at Washington State University. From there, he had a great career at Washington State, freshman All-American, multiple-time All-Pac-12, before being an undrafted free agent, kind of bouncing around the NFL for a few years. You hear him say he's been cut 14 times. And then before finally landing for the past 2 years and then now going into his third year with the Miami Dolphins. So I think this clip is so great to illustrate, the power of believing in yourself, of taking a risk, taking a bet on yourself and your own abilities, and trusting that you're the one who can make it happen if you get the slightest opportunity. And I'm so proud of River for having done that. Even though the 49ers are my favorite team and he was up there for 2 years, he saw that it was time for him to go from there because he wasn't going to get the opportunities that he needed to showcase his abilities. So he took a chance. Mike McDaniel took a chance on him, and now he's gone on to have 2 really solid years with Miami. So hopefully you enjoy this clip. You can take some inspiration, some motivation from it, that if you're struggling with something in your life, to have faith in your own abilities, to take a chance on yourself, whether that's a training thing, whether it's starting a new business, whatever it may be. Also, please head over to the Beers with Chad channel, subscribe to that channel, find Beers with Chad on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Subscribe, listen, leave a review. Really appreciate it. You can kind of see, my non-lifting interests and some lifting stuff over there, but mostly a lot of non-lifting stuff over there that I enjoy. So thanks for checking out this clip.
Welcome to Beers with Chad.
How many times have you been cut?
14.
14.
Yeah. And I'm doing these little exit interviews, right? So you go in, you meet with these coaches, and they kind of tell you what was good and bad about the season. My situation was obviously a little bit weird because everybody knew that I just got cut before the game. So meeting with the coaches was a lot of, I'm sorry, wish it worked out differently, and things like that. So this is where things get complicated because a futures deal is basically an invite to spring camp, right?
Yeah.
OTAs. It's basically what it means.
It's like we're giving you a contract to give you a contract.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's not the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
I've signed a futures deal almost every year of my career. So it's an opportunity. But it's nothing, nothing guaranteed or anything.
Like a save the date.
It's a save the date. Yeah. It's a save the date, basically. Yeah. So I meet with, I wasn't with Lynch actually. So what happened was I had met with all the guys. Not Mike. Hadn't met with him yet. Wasn't even planning on doing it. And somebody comes down and grabs me from the bottom level of the facility, brings me upstairs where all the coaches' offices are. And they say, hey, come over here in this room. I say, okay. At this point, I don't know what's going on. I'm already technically off the team because they had cut me 2 days prior. But they bring me up, they say, hey, this is your futures contract. We need you to sign this. There's no future for me here. I love the 49ers. I love being here. I love the guys. But obviously there's a lack of faith in my playing ability, right? So it's kind of like, all right, I had to consider all this in the moment. So I'm like, I looked at whoever it was that brought me up and I said, hey, I got to call my agent. I felt like that was an appropriate response. And he was kind of like, oh, yeah, go ahead, take your time. So I walked downstairs, I walked outside, I called my agent, said, hey man, the 49ers just offered me the futures deal and I want to go somewhere else, basically. I said, if there's anyone out there that believes in me and wants to give me a chance, I will go anywhere else. That's kind of the point I was at with San Francisco. And it was a bummer because I was familiar with the system. I think the coaches liked me as a person. I had good relationships there. I had great relationships with the players. Like I really did love it there. But the fact that I knew I was never going to get on the field, I was like, I got to do this for me, So I call my agent, I tell him that, and he says, all right, clock's kind of ticking because I got to go back up there and sign this contract. And my agent calls me back about 30 minutes later, and he says, hey, basically nobody wants you. I was like, heard that before. So I was kind of like, all right, my only option is to sign this futures contract. Coming back to the 49ers, it's going to be another long year. I'm probably going to get it cut a bunch of times. And I had basically accepted it within that 5-minute span of receiving that call from my agent and then walking back in the building. And as I'm walking into the building, about to walk up to sign, I just popped in Mike's office, Mike McDaniel's office. And I was kind of just like, hey, dude, see you in a couple months. I'm going to sign back, whatever. And he's like, hey, come in, close the door. And I was like, all right. So I closed the door, and he's like, hey, Mike's personality is, he's got a lot of jokes. He's pretty funny. But he brings me in, and he's like, hey, man, like, I don't know if you read the internet at all, but I'm up for a head coaching job. And I honestly did not know. I was like, oh, shit, no, I didn't know that. And he goes, yeah, I'm interviewing for the Dolphins on, it was Monday. The day was Monday that this happened because we played Sunday. Mm-hmm. The exit interview was Monday. He says, hey, I'm interviewing for the Dolphins on Wednesday. He goes, I think I'm going to get it. And I was like, oh, like, nice, congrats.
Not even thinking like this has any impact on you. Just
not
like,
at all.
Congrats, Mike. That's good for you.
Yeah, I was like, awesome, dude. That's
I just
great.
got told no one wants to sign me, but congratulations to you.
yeah, basically. I was like, oh, man. But anyways, he looks at me and he goes, you want to come with me? And I was like, shit, there's my opportunity right there. I told him right away. I said, absolutely. I said, I didn't even know you believed in me like that. He said, I've been watching you in practice. He said, I see you studying the tape. I see you doing it on practice field. He goes, you haven't gotten the ops in the game, but he goes, I want you to come over to Miami. And I was like, shoot, man. Like, in my head, I'm thinking, you don't even have the job yet. Like, so I got very real with him. I told him my situation. He didn't know much about contracts and futures deals and what that meant or anything. So basically, when you sign the futures deal, that does lock you in at least for that team. So you can't sign a futures deal, and then Mike goes to Miami, and then you can sign over there. It's not how it works, So what I told Mike was, I said, hey, man, hey, look, here's the deal. They just offered me a futures deal here in San Fran, and I was actually on my way to go sign it when I popped in here. And I told him the situation with my agent and how no teams wanted me, blah, blah. And he says, all right, look, he goes, I can't guarantee you anything, but he goes, if I get the head coaching job for the Dolphins, I will sign you the first day I get the job. And he goes, I will guarantee you an opportunity. He goes, I won't guarantee you a spot, none of that. He goes, but I will give you an opportunity to compete. And I was like, shoot, man, that's all I want. He tells me he thinks he's going to get the job. I said, okay. I said, Mike, look, if you want me to come with you, I have to say no to this contract. And if I say no to this contract and then you don't get the job, I'm screwed because no one else wants me. And I promise you, if I say no to the Niners right now, they will not give me another contract. So he was very confident that he was going to get the job. So, which is cool. Hindsight looking at it, it's like, wow, the ball's on that guy. You know what I mean? And so he told me that, and I said, shoot, man, all right. I stepped outside his office. I called my agent. I said, hey, I'm going to Miami. I said, Mike McDaniel thinks he's going to get the job, so this is my plan. I'm not going to sign this contract. But I was scared,
For sure.
Football career potentially ending right here, right? Like, it's a huge gamble.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, okay, Mike McDaniel predicting that he's going to get it is one thing. If he didn't get it, he still got his job at San Francisco. But now he's telling you got to give your job up on the chance that he gets it.
Yeah. So it was...
They're making a big leap of faith, a bet on him.
It was nerve-wracking. So to add on to the story, so that was a Monday. I drove home. I was real excited about what could happen. I knew the interview was Wednesday. He told me in his meeting when I met with him, he said, hey, when the news breaks and you see it, call me. I said, okay. So Wednesday comes around and the Brian Flores incident happens that week. So Mike's interview gets pushed back to Friday. And then things start adding up with more of the Brian Flores stuff. and then it gets pushed back to the next Monday and then the next Wednesday. So I was thinking initially that every day I don't sign this contract with the Niners, my career might be over.
Yeah.
You know, so it was very scary for me. But you know, ultimately I think it was like maybe 10 days after that conversation with Mike, which was a long 10 days for
sure.
me. The news broke that he got the job, and I was lost it. I was with my dad. I was fired up. I couldn't believe it. And I call him and he didn't answer. I was like, oh shit. I was like, no way. And, you know, in the back of my head, I'm thinking like a number of things can be happening, right? Like,
Yeah.
he obviously just got a head coaching job. Everybody's probably blowing him up.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you're like, what if he doesn't follow through? Like, he told me he was going to bring me. He told me to call him. He didn't pick up. So I was like, shit. Like, what am I going to do? So I followed it up with a text. Felt like that was appropriate. And then the next day he got back to me. And
Did you double text him?
I did not double text him.
Not like an hour later, something like 4 question marks.
This happening or no, I think he understood that a lot was at stake, but he's probably
2 a.m. You up?
Yeah, basically. But yeah, he got back to me, went to Mike, and Mike was like, yeah, but I was the first guy he signed. So he stayed true to his word. I flew out there the next week, signed. It was such a big relief. But that's just where the story starts, you know, like